Namanda, 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 Namanda.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us this morning's service here at the Monterey Peninsula Buddhist Temple. This morning we will be doing Obigan in the September Shotsuki Hoyo. Just a reminder to please have your Obusugans open with incense burning for this morning's service. Would you please join me and God for this morning's opening reading? Entrust yourself to Amida Buddha's primal vow, to the benefit of being grasped, never to be abandoned. All who entrust themselves to the primal vow attain the supreme enlightenment. Namo Amida Butsu.
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 Namo Amida Butsu. Namanda Butsu. Namanda Butsu. Namanda Butsu.
Thank you. This morning's sutra chanting will begin with Sambujo on page 23, followed by Sambusuge on page 77, followed by Jusege on page 91. These are in your purple service handbook, and you also can find them online to download these.
Today, on this occasion of the Monterey Peninsula Buddhist Temple September Shotsuki Hoyo and Fall Ohigan services, the Sangha has reverently come before Amida Buddha in memory of their beloved family members. With deepest reverence and thankfulness, with the all-embracing wisdom and compassion of Amida, we reaffirm the three homages. I go to the Buddha for guidance, I go to the Dharma for guidance, I go to the Sangha for guidance. Namu Kia Boots, Namu Kia Ho, Namu Kia So, Nam Mandavas, Nam Mandavas, Nam Mandavas. Satsa Maria Jukyo Kogen Gigi Ijin Gognya Se Enmyo Maya Tosha Nichigatsumani Shugo Enyo Kai Shitsu Onbe Nyakajumoku Nyorai Yogen Chose Murin Shogaku Daiyong Goru Jipo Kaimon Shojin Sanmai Chie Itoku Muryo Shushokeu Jintai Zennen Shobutsu Hokai Gujin Jin no Gugo Ngai Tai Mumyo Yokunu Seson Yomunin no Shishi Jin Toku Muryo Kugun Godai Chie Jinmyo Omyo Isa Shindo Dai Senganga Sabutsu Zai Sho Hoga Dosho Jimi Bugedatsu Fuse Joi Kai Nin Shojin Yose Sanmai Chie Ijo Gose Tokubutsu Bugyo Shigan Isai Kuku Isa Daiyang Geshi Ubutsu Yakusen Dokuman Muryo Daisho Shunyo Goja Kuyo Isai Shito Shobutsu Bunyo Gudo Kensho Bugyaku Hinyo Goja Shobu Sekai Bubu Kage Mushu Setsudo Komyo Shisho Henshisho Kogunyo Se Shojin Ijin Nanryo Ryoga Sabutsu Kokudo Daiichi Goshuki Myodo Jocho Setsu Kogunyo Naiyo Nimutoso Gato Aimendo Datsu Isai Jippo Raisho Shoujo Ito ga Kokuke Rakuan Kobu Shinmyo Zega Shinsho Hotsugan no Hiriki Shosho Yo Jippo Seson Chie Muge Joryo Shison Chiga Shingyo Geryo Shinshi Shoku Dokuchu Gagyo Shojin Ninju Buke Gagan Chosegan Ishi Mujono Shigan Fumanzok Sebujo Shogaga Omuryoko Uidai Seshu Pusai Shobingu Sebujo Shogaga Shijo Butsudo Myosho Chojipo Kugyo Misho Mon Sebujo Shogak Ryoku Jinsho Nenjo E Shubongyo Shigemu Jodo Isho Tennin Shi Jinneki Endai Ko Busho Musaido Shoujo Sangumyo Kosai Shuyakunan 다이 지행엔 매시건마안 에서그쇼와그너 쯔다쯔센슈몽 거서저만석 이여러지뻔 이지가츠슈주기 댕거엄보겐 이슈사이호도 거세그덕호 조다이슈주 세포시시그 그야 이사이브 그서그슈덕홍간네 시주저만 덕의상가요녀부츠무게치 스다츠미 부쇼 강가 그에리 도시 사이쇼선 시가냐 고가 나이세노 간도 거크쇼텐닌 도진묘계 나만다부 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 난이시근엉의 면허세이사이 너헛모 나이신 어저 안다고 남만답 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 남만답
Please join us in the Gatha, Namo Mirabusu, on page 174. And please stay standing, and we're going to be doing the threefold refuge on page 10.
When life is fair and sunlight gilds the day, when fortune smiles and flowers adorn our way, oh, let us pause with grateful hearts to say, Namo Amida We know our way leads neath a darkened sky, and to our loved ones pain and death draw nigh. Our tears may flow, yet trustingly we cry, Namo
The threefold refuge. Difficult is it to receive a human form, now we are living it. Difficult is it to hear the Dharma of the Buddha, now we hear it. If we do not cross over to the truth in the present life, in what life shall we cross over? Let us with sincerity and true reverence take refuge in the three treasures of the truth. I take refuge in the Buddha. May we, together with all sentient beings, awaken to the great way of enlightenment and to the unsurpassed intent of Amida Buddha. I take refuge in the Dharma. May we, together with all sentient beings, enter the storehouse of the Dharma, becoming like the wisdom ocean. I take refuge in the Sangha. May we, together with all sentient beings, become units in true accord and harmony with all things. The peerless, profound, and wondrous Dharma is rare to encounter, even in many hundreds and thousands of kalpas. Now we are privileged to hear and receive it. Let us thoroughly understand the true meaning of Tathagata's teaching. Namo Amida Butsu.
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 Namo Amida
Namo Amida Butsu. Thank you. At this time, we're going to have our Dharma talk by Reverend Shinseki.
Okay, thank you very much, David. Good morning, everyone. I'd like to begin by asking you to please join me in Gasho. When one attains this enlightenment, one reaches the great compassion by returning to the ocean of samsara in order to save all sentient beings. Namo Amida Butsu, 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 Namo Amida Butsu. Thank you very much. First of all, I'd like to thank everybody for tuning in and making this YouTube event possible, and I want to wish everybody a happy Ohigan. This is the fall Ohigan, and this is known as the fall equinox, when the length of morning and evening are about the same. The sun rises directly from the west and sets directly into the east. And the weather is neither not too hot, not too cold, and it is when nature is in harmony. Now, it's hard to imagine nature being in harmony over the last few months because of not only the COVID-19, but also because of the wildfires that are raging throughout California. And the result of those wildfires was a lot of smoke. And so for several days, we were trapped inside of our homes, unable to go outside because of the smoke. But then the winds blew favorably, the skies cleared up, and today here in Monterey, it's a beautiful day, blue skies. And so we were able to go outside. And when we went outside, we were able to breathe fresh air again. And this is sort of maybe the transition from summer to fall that Ohigan tries to remind us of. That it's like stepping outside and getting that breath of fresh air and seeing nature once again in harmony. And it's a perfect time for us to contemplate our lives, contemplate our roles in society, contemplate the Buddha Dharma in our lives. And this is a very important thing for us to remember, how important the Dharma is in our lives. You know, every day we go about doing many things and tasks and taking care of each other, and we tend to forget the Buddha Dharma that is a part of our everyday lives. And so, you know, today we're observing the September Shotsuki Hoyo, the September Memorial. And I'm sure that there's many of you who, as you watch the names scroll by, you recognize those names. not only family, but as neighbors and friends here on the Monterey Peninsula. And those people, your family, our friends, our members, they were an integral part of this community and an integral part of this temple. Because of them, we're able to receive, we're able to hear the Dharma, we're able to be reminded of Ohigan, the other shore of enlightenment. And it is not just they who have made this relationship happen, but it's the Dharma, a shared love, a shared devotion, a shared embracing of the teachings of the Buddha that we inherit. And this is no small feat by your family members. It's not easy to instill in family the values of the Buddha Dharma. If you've, well, personally, for me to try to instill the Buddha Dharma in my brothers and sisters has been a lifelong, I was going to say a lifelong battle, but I don't know if I'm going to call it a battle. It's been a lifelong goal of mine to share the Buddha Dharma with my brothers and sisters. So the question is, how do we do this? How do we share the Buddha Dharma with those closest to it? Part of it may have been, here at the temple, for some, they were always here. They're always here helping, always doing things around the temple. For some, they were here during services. Part of it may have been a realization that this temple would not be here if it wasn't for our parents, our grandparents. And so there's a family legacy here. And that's why some people are involved. It may have been the fact that your parents, like my parents, dragged you here every Sunday, made you come, made you sit, made you listen. All of this has contributed to all of you being involved in our temple here. Or being maybe not so much involved as much as feel it's a part of your growing up and part of your youth and part of your life. But most important was not what they did, but it's how they did these things that's important. They lived their lives as faithful and devoted Jodo Shinshu Buddhists. And they manifested that in all that they did and how they treated others. I don't know how many times I've heard over the years people talk about their friends' parents as being so kind, so embracing, so supportive of them. And this is because they grew up here at the temple and they knew how to treat others. And as children, we're great observers. I wouldn't say we, because I'm not a child anymore, but children are great observers. Whether we realize it or not, we learn from our parents. We learn from their thoughts. We learn from their words. We learn from their actions. And as a result, we become like them. Today we saw all these names scrolling by. It may seem to some that when we do this, when we have regular services, we read all the names and we ask people to come up for Oshoko. And it may seem like it's a long and drawn out process. And maybe some even feel it's unnecessary. However, when we see those names, when we hear those names, when we read those names, you automatically think about them. You think about them and their lives. And as the list goes by, and as we read or wait to hear the names of our family members, we look for them. We listen for them. And it's important that we do this. It's important that we see the names or we hear the names read out loud. As Jodo Shinshu followers, we recite Namo Amida Butsu aloud. Our 8th Monshu Shinran Shonin wrote this in his letter. Laymen and laywomen in the latter age who lack wisdom should deeply rely on Amida Buddha with singleness of heart, entrusting themselves to the Buddha single-mindedly and unwaveringly for their emancipation, without turning their thoughts to other matters. However deep and heavy their evil karma may be, Amida Tathagata unfailingly saves them. This is the essence of the 18th vow that assures our birth in the Pure Land through the Nembutsu. Once our heart is thus settled, we should say the Nembutsu, whether awake or asleep, for as long as we live, humbly and respectfully. End quote. So when we read a name out loud, the voice naturally comes to our ears. It reaches into our heart. When we recite Namu Amida Butsu, we are calling the name of our parents, our grandparents, our friends, and our family. And naturally, they return to our hearts and our minds. So in our tradition, we have a Japanese term. It's called Genso Eko. It literally refers to Amida Buddha, who comes to this world to save others. For us today, Genso Eko is the phrase of returning to this world of evil passions in order to save all sentient beings after one has themselves been born into the Pure Land and attained Buddhahood. Shinran often commented that when we enter the Pure Land at death, we become one with Amida Buddha. In other words, in attaining the same Buddhahood as Amida, we become Amida Buddha. Your parents, your grandparents desire to share their devotion to this teaching with others, including ourselves. Motivated by great compassion, they work tirelessly to assure the continued presence of Amida in your lives through this temple, through the Dharma. And now, years later, we continue to reach out to us as Amida Buddha. They continue to work for us, helping us to see great compassion moving towards us. In the Jusege that we chanted today, it says, "My wondrous power by its great light brightens the countless lands throughout, removes the darkness of the three defilements, and delivers all from suffering and pain. Opening the eyes of wisdom, I will end this darkness of ignorance, blocking all paths of evil. I will open the gate of attainment." So your parents, your grandparents, they worked tirelessly for this temple, and they continue to do so now for you, for all of us. Our lives today are much different than the lives that they lived. However, we still have and will experience the same difficulties that life and living will present to us, including old age, sickness, and death. They, or Amida, implored us to open our eyes to the wisdom and compassion of Amida, who has the saving power. Truly, the idea of Genso Eko means that your parents, your grandparents' influence has never ceased for a moment at all in all of us. They continue to teach and guide us for the rest of our lives. In conclusion, I want to share with you once again my opening reading. If you please join me in Gasho. When one attains this enlightenment, one reaches the great compassion by returning to the ocean of samsara in order to save all sentient beings. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu. Thank you very much, everyone.
We will now read the Gobun Sho on page 141 and page 140.
Shonin Nichiryu no go kanke no onomouki wa 真珠のもって本当すられそうそのゆえはもろもろの造業を投げ捨てて一心に御に君をすれば不可思議の眼力として文の方より往生は事情せしめたもそのくらいよ一年法期入少女始終とも釈しその上の称名念仏如来我が往生は定めたまいし凡法人の念仏と心べきなりアナカシコアナカシコダンマンダブスダンマンダブスダンマンダブス
Shinran Shonen taught that the essence of Jodo Shinshu is Shinjin. The reason is that by abandoning all other practices and completely entrusting ourselves in Amida Buddha, our spiritual rebirth is assured by Amida through the inconceivable power of the primal vow. This is known as entering the ranks of the truly assured at the very moment of Shinjin. Thereafter, all utterances of the Nembutsu should be understood only as expressions of gratitude for Amida's assurance of our spiritual rebirth. With reverence, I remain. Namo Amida Butsu.
Namo Amida Butsu.
Namo Amida Butsu.
Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu.
We will now have the Gatha on Doksan 2 on page 220 of your Purple Service Handbook. Thank you. Here's this morning's announcements. Monterey eChat on September 22nd at 7 p.m. via Zoom. Next Sunday on September 27th at 10 a.m., we will be live streaming a services for Dharma the Youth. Please tune in and tell your friends and family to join us. Also, we're having an online class, Introduction to Buddhism, which will begin on September 30th at 1 p.m. The class will be offered via Zoom. To register for the class, visit the Monterey Buddhist Temple website. At this time, we'll now have closing reading by Reverend Shinseki.
Please join me in Gasho. If you sleep, desire grows in you like a vine in the forest. Like a monkey in the forest, you jump from tree to tree, never finding the fruit, from life to life, never finding peace. If you are filled with desire, your sorrows swell like the grass after the rain. But if you subdue desire, Your sorrows shall fall from you like drops of water from a lotus flower. Namo Amida Butsu. 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 Thank you.
Thank you so very much for joining us this morning. We'd like to thank everyone that's helped with making sure this gets on YouTube. We really appreciate all your help. That concludes this morning's service. Please stay safe, and please join us again for our next service next weekend. Thank you.